Shohei Ohtani admitted he pitched with hesitation on Wednesday because of Dalton Rushing's pitch calling. That's a bigger deal than many realized.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now.
I'm Harry Ruiz, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers. On today's show, since we're at the halfway point of the season, I'll look at those whose stock is up and whose stock is down with the boys in blue. The Dodgers continue taking over the All-Star ballot. But first, Shohei addresses Rushing situation. Yesterday, I discussed something that caught a lot of attention, not just when it comes to the Dodgerverse, but all around the world of baseball. And not because the Dodgers won, but because there appeared to be a disconnect between Shohei Ohtani and Dalton Rushing. Now, we have Ohtani's own explanation via post-game quotes from his Japanese interview, courtesy of Dylan Hernandez of the California Post in his most recent column. Regarding Rushing's pitch calling, and I quote, "I felt as if I was throwing with hesitation. I think that affected the quality of my pitches," end quote. In reference to Dalton Rushing not making adjustments behind the plate, and I quote, "It was like this in the last start too." End quote. When talking about taking over pitch calling in the third inning, and I quote, "I think that was one of the reasons I pitched well." End quote. And in relation to pitching in the future with Rushing, and I quote, "Explaining in words is of course important, but showing him how I pitch in a game could be a good catalyst in developing communication." After hearing everything Shohei had to say, I actually think that two things can be true at once. Number one, it wasn't a great look. When the top player in the entire sport essentially says that he was pitching with hesitation because he wasn't fully comfortable with what was happening behind the plate, that's something worth paying attention to. Shohei admitted similar issues happened during the previous outing, plus also said that things improved once he took over the pitch selection. Those right there are meaningful comments. But also, the second thing is that it seems like this was a little bit overblown because relationships between pitchers and catchers aren't built overnight, especially when you're talking about arguably the smartest player on the planet like Shohei Ohtani, and a guy that is young and as new when it comes to the big leagues as Dalton Rushing. I remember reading a comment in the YouTube section on yesterday's show, which, by the way, thank you for all the support, thank you for all the comments, thank you for all the likes and the over 11,000 views on that video, where people said, hey, Rushing is used to being the best player on every team that he has been in. Until now. How did he arrive to the Dodgers last year as the number one prospect in the organization? Someone highly regarded as a potential future starter, maybe not in the Dodgers where you got Will Smith, but a starter in the big leagues. And now he's not that player that is the best on the team. You have a whole list of guys in front of him. I mean, for starters, the guy that he's covering up for in Will Smith. He's one of the best catchers in all of baseball. And you're coming in and taking over his spot because he's injured, and something like this happens. There comes a part in your career, in any job that you have, where with time, with age, comes maturity. And that's what Dalton Rushing needs right now. He said that he needs to be better in yesterday's post-game interview that we presented here on Locked On Dodgers, and that it was embarrassing that he needs teammates, coaches to come over and help him with the situation that he was in. So it's a reminder that they're learning each other, that they're learning what they do. And in the past, personal catchers have existed throughout baseball history because every pitcher processes information differently. Some need encouragement, some want suggestions, some just do things their way or the highway. Others, like Ohtani, they have an incredibly detailed game plan before the first pitch is ever thrown. Communication takes repetition. That's why I actually liked something that Shohei said. He mentioned that showing Rushing how he thinks during games could become a catalyst for improving communication, and that doesn't sound like someone who's frustrated beyond repair. That sounds like someone who's trying to speed up the leading process, because Will Smith, at the very earliest, he's going to return once the Dodgers go back to Dodger Stadium. And the next game at Dodger Stadium, once again, here's my trusty calendar, isn't until July 2nd. Shohei Ohtani, he pitches on Wednesdays. July 2nd is on the road. Sorry, at home against San Diego. The prior day is a Wednesday in Sacramento against the Athletics. That's when he's supposed to pitch again. So he at the very least has one more start with Rushing behind the plate before Will Smith is even considered to returning. He hasn't been doing baseball activities again, so it could be just one more start, or it can be more. It could go all the way through the All-Star break for Shohei Ohtani, who would have 2 more starts as the pitcher before the All-Star break. So there needs to be this situation where there needs to be chemistry, there needs to be an understanding, and it wouldn't surprise me if in the next start, it's Shohei Ohtani the whole way, with him doing the pitch comm and deciding what pitches come in here. And look, I want to share also Joe Maddon. He appeared on Foul Territory, and he added another really interesting perspective. He knows Shohei very well because he managed him with the Angels during 3 seasons. His advice is simple. Let's listen to it.
With Shohei, it's hard for me to believe that he's not already working on the solution to this. For me, the solution to this is Shohei, Dalton, in room, pitching coach, manager, sit there, let's talk through this. That's it. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. The Shohei, I even learned to not ask him or tell him what to do during the game. I asked him to walk Matt Olson one time, and he wagged his finger at me in the dugout, but he did go ahead and do it. And then sure enough, I did it later in the game. Then I looked up his numbers against the guy afterwards. He had struck him out like 10 out of 14 times. He knew what he was doing. Shohei knows what he's doing. So it makes the catcher's job easier. Just follow him. I would get them in a room. I would talk about it just very matter-of-factly again. And of course, Shohei needs to be in charge of this situation. He's very good at it. This kid here, listen, if Shohei wants to do something, that's how it's going to be. And if we'll sit down and we'll talk to him, and it's going to be all worked out.
Probably the biggest takeaway here is that when you have a player like Shohei Ohtani, you don't force him into someone else's process. You build the process around him. And look, that doesn't mean Dalton Rushing failed. It means catching Shohei might be unlike catching anybody else in baseball. And the situation here for Rushing is that you got to control your emotions. A mistake happens, go, grab the ball, get back to behind the plate, throw the ball back at your pitcher, let's go. Let's get the next out. If the pitcher wants to call an ABS challenge on the ump, if that's his prerogative, let him have it. If it's his mistake and it was actually a ball and not a strike, that's his error, not yours. You got to focus on your game without pouting in your face or without throwing your arms up. Don't do any of those type of expressions. Control the controllables. Control what you can't and just focus on your responsibility. That's what needs to happen right there with Dalton Rushing. And let's remember something else. Every championship team has moments where communication isn't perfect. It happens over 162 games, especially baseball, having such a big calendar with more than double the games that in basketball, or pretty much double the games that in basketball with, football, it's 17 games a season, and even the preseason where they have 3 more, 20 times 8, more than 8 times what football plays in a year. You look at 162 opportunities for something to go wrong, something will go wrong. And why did this grab the headlines? Because usually with the Dodgers, there's no drama. Everything gets taken care of But right now, Dalton Rushing is that young guy that still needs to get the experience and learn from everything that happens on the field, and this definitely is that, a learning experience. The important part here isn't whether it happens, it's about how quickly it gets fixed. From everything that we've heard, including Shohei's own comments, it sounds like they're already working towards that situation, towards that solution. And that's why I think that Wednesday looked so uncomfortable. But I also think that the reaction has become much bigger than the actual problem. Because if this exact conversation is still happening a month from now, then we need to sound the alarms and we got to be very concerned. Right now, let this be exactly that, a situation that everybody learns from. Like I said, Rushing is a player that needs to have his emotions checked and needs to be back when we were thinking about him saying stuff to his opponents, saying stuff to himself, or expressing stuff in that way to teams that the Dodgers are playing with, or him breaking his bat, all that stuff. It was like, man, you got to control yourself. The problem is that now you're putting your teammates in it. You're including the most popular player on your team, not only the most popular player on your team, the best player on your team and in the sport. That right there is no bueno. That's no good. And this looks like what is two talented baseball players trying to learn how to work together, plus a young one trying to figure out how to be a major leaguer. And that's a process every team has to go through. And hopefully, bam, like that, Friday's game, everything is out and you just focus in playing ball. And now Wednesday's game in Sacramento became even more intriguing for everybody that wants to watch the Dodgers, Shohei, and how it's going to be with Dalton Rushing behind the plate. Or how about if Chucky Robinson is in there? I think that would speak volumes as well. Let's close this first segment with me asking you this question. Do you think this Shohei Ohtani and Dalton Rushing situation is simply part of building chemistry? Or do you think it's something that the Dodgers need to address more aggressively? Drop your take in the comments or let us know on any of our social networks what you think, or hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line. I would love to hear from you via voicemail or read one of your texts at 279-3-LOCKED. I want to hear where you stand. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani just became the National League's leading vote getter for the All-Star Game for the first time. And he's far from the only Dodger who seems to be headed to Philadelphia. Being able to send someone money instantly with Cash App is one of those little things we've all gotten so used to that we don't even think about it anymore. But it genuinely makes everyday life so much easier. Cash App does more than you think when it comes to having your back and making sure that your money stays your money. Cash App just released a new status program for the way people actually spend called Cash App Green. Now, when you spend at least $500 a month with the Cash App card, you earn green status, which unlocks benefits like up to $200 of free overdraft coverage. If you overdraft unexpectedly, there are no hidden fees. You also unlock higher borrow limits and custom personalized cashback offers every Friday at places you love to shop. Turn everyday spending into status with Cash App Green. Turn everyday spending into status with Cash App Green. Download Cash App today or visit cash.app to learn more about this and other financial benefits. New Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use Cash App 10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Nothing beats being at a Dodgers game. The energy in the stands, the crowd roaring, that electric vibe that you just can't get anywhere else. The only downside is that scoring tickets can be a total pain. Endless lines, random fees, and prices that all of a sudden jump right before you hit checkout. That's why I've been using GameTime. The app makes it so easy to get real tickets, delivered fast, at the best prices, and, most importantly for me, the fees are already baked in. So what you see is exactly what you pay. No surprises, no guessing how much the tickets are going to be. What they show you, that's the price. You can follow the Dodgers on the GameTime app, and with them, you get alerts when fresh deals pop up and literally grab seats in 2 taps, making it super easy to decide hitting up a game last minute. If you're thinking about heading out to the stadium, download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today. You can get every episode of Locked On Dodgers ad-free through the Everydayer Club. There's a free 7-day trial waiting for you at lockedondodgers.supercast.com or through the link in the show notes. And also, shout out to Pete Fox, who takes care of the immediate reactions of every Dodgers game here on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube channel and the podcast feed with the Postcast Show. Immediately after the final out of every game, he comes and gives us his thoughts on what happened and recaps those games. He's going to do it this weekend as the Dodgers take on the Padres. The Dodgers take over the All-Star ballot. It shouldn't surprise anyone anymore. When baseball fans are asked to vote, Dodgers fans show up. Shohei Ohtani officially earned the National League's starting designated hitter spot after receiving more votes than anyone else in Major League Baseball. That's another milestone for him because he's been an All-Star before. He started All-Star games before, both as a DH and a pitcher, but this is the first time he's finished as the overall leading vote getter. And that is definitely deserved. I mean, I was looking at the past since he debuted in baseball in 2018, who have been the leading vote getters at All-Star games. 2018, Jose Altuve. 2019, Mike Trout. 2020, no All-Star game. 2021, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Then you had, over the next 4 seasons, Aaron Judge being the top vote getter 3 times and Ronald Acuna Jr. once. I was honestly shocked that it took him 8 All-Star game ballots to be the top vote getter with all the support that he has from his countrymen and women in Japan, all the support that he has now for a 3rd consecutive year being with the Dodgers, being a winner as he is. I was honestly in awe that it's his first time being the top vote getter, but good for him. But this also makes me remember how much discussion there was in April, people wondering if Shohei was still trying to find his rhythm offensively, but now, come to the present. He's hitting close to 300. He's getting on base over 41% of the time. He's slugging near 550. He's leading the Dodgers in home run and once again looking like one of the most dangerous hitters in baseball. Oh, and by the way, he's also carrying an ERA that's below 2 and doing ridiculous things on the mound as well. So you add that as a hitter and that as a pitcher, it's crazy. Doing something that in our lifetime we haven't been able to see is definitely incredible. He definitely deserves this as the top vote getter in all of baseball. The thing here is 6 more Dodgers advanced to phase 2. Shohei, top vote getter, he's in. Same thing, Ernie Clement, incredible. Toronto's player was the top vote getter in the American League, and he was only like 300,000 votes away from Shohei Ohtani. That's major respect and props for him and the fans over in Toronto and in all the nation of Canada that showed up for their guy, voted for him, and he gave Shohei a run for his money. I never thought it was going to be that close, but it ended up being. Both of them go in directly into the All-Star game, but every other position, we've got competition. The 6 Dodgers that advanced to phase 2, in the catcher position, Will Smith, first base, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts at shortstop, Max Muncy at 3rd, and 2 outfield spots, Andy Pages and Teoscar Hernandez. So the only 2 players or positions that don't have a Dodger is second base, which has been a revolving door since the beginning of the season. You've had Alex Freeland, you've had Miguel Rojas, Hassan Kim, I mean, you've had player. Espinal had a start or two over there. Kim was the one in the ballot, ended up at 4th place. He doesn't make it to the next round. Then you have right field, Kyle Tucker, $60 million a year guy, underperforming terribly, and we'll be talking about him soon in the next segment as well as I recap the first half of the season for the Dodgers. He's out. He won't make the All-Star game. No way at all. The only way he would have made it was if everybody voted for him, and that wasn't the case, and that goes to show you also the disconnect between him and the fan base. The fan base of the Dodgers rather vote for Kim, who's been at AAA more than half the season, than Tucker, who has been failing at right field as with the terrible bat this season. So 6 players. Now the key is, remember in the past, or I don't know if they still do it right now, that you would tag team with another team from the opposite league, National League with American League, and be like, hey, vote for our guys, but we'll also vote for yours. Come on, let's help each other. I feel that the rest of the fan bases in baseball can be saying, you know what? Screw that. It's 29 against 1. If the fans from every other team in baseball vote against the guys that are competing against the Dodgers, they would guarantee that the Dodgers wouldn't just completely take over Philadelphia with the All-Star game starting positions. Because right now, you could see Andy Pages, Max Muncy, and Freddie Freeman. I mean, Freeman beat out Matt Olson, who's having a very good season over in Atlanta as well. You could see at least those 3 and Shohei Ohtani. So pretty much half of the All-Star game lineup to start the game being members of the Dodgers. But if Dodgers fans just step it up and say, screw the rest, let's ruin the All-Star game now. You ruin baseball from what everybody was saying by going back to back. Let's ruin the All-Star game too and just have every Dodger player that we could playing in this game. So that's why it's important. Dodgers.com/vote. Support the players on this team. And also, don't forget, Dave Roberts will once again manage the national team in this game, in the Midsummer Classic. So Philadelphia could definitely end up looking like Chavez Ravine East with everybody on that field. Add Justin Wrobleski, add Yoshinobu Yamamoto, you could have a ridiculous amount of All-Stars. And the thing right now that I'm especially curious about is, does Shohei Ohtani also receive a pitching selection? Because he's certainly earned consideration, but if that happens, baseball once again gets to showcase the most unique player the sport has ever seen in the Midsummer Classic in both positions for the second time. Something that he has only done once in 2021, starting the game on the mound with a perfect inning, plus being a DH where he ended up going 0 for 2 with the American League. So now that he's pitching, now that he's built up, would he pitch? And the thing here is, I feel it would be a little bit unfair for Jacob Misiorowski, who I believe has earned the right to be the starter in the All-Star game, to not have him be the starter and have Shohei, who has been very good on the mound, but I feel Misiorowski right now is the clubhouse leader when it comes to the Cy Young conversation in the NL, and he deserves being up there on the mound in my opinion, to kick off the game. So you would have to make some moves there. Have Shohei Ohtani start the game as a DH, but then put him in as a pitcher. Or I feel it would be better for the Dodgers, maybe not what baseball wants, but for the Dodgers, just say, Show, don't pitch. Go out there, have your 2 at-bats, go home after that, and we're good. Do you want Shohei Ohtani to be both a pitcher and a DH on this year's All-Star Game? Plus, which Dodgers players do you think are no doubters All-Stars this year? I want to hear from you, so drop your answer in the comments or hit me on social at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, or on TikTok at Harry Ruiz _. Next, on Locked On Dodgers, I'm handing out our halfway report cards here on our show. Who's exceeded every expectation, who's delivered exactly what the Dodgers needed, and which players simply haven't shown up enough for this team.
As the World Cup keeps rolling right along, you can get in on all of the action over on FanDuel with their Every Goal Pays promotion. If you place a wager on a World Cup match, you get a bonus bet for every goal scored by both sides. That way, you keep the action rolling all throughout the World Cup, or you can use those bonus bets on baseball as well. Currently, the Dodgers are the favorite to win the World Series this season. Looking at the Yankees coming up right behind them. If you feel good about the Dodgers winning it all for a third time in a row, head on over to FanDuel right now and check out that future, the Every Goal Pays promotion, and so much more. Because when it comes to any sport, FanDuel.com is the way to go. Head on over to FanDuel.com right now.
ED is way more common than most guys think. Millions deal with it. HIMS makes it simple. They connect you with licensed providers online for personalized treatments from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just an easy, straightforward process. Taking care of yourself shouldn't feel complicated. HIMS keeps it private and built around your schedule. When something is already uncomfortable to talk about, starting online from home makes that first step much more manageable. To get simple, online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonmlb. That's hims.com/lockedonmlb for your free online visit. Once again, hims.com/lockedonmlb. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris. Are you new here? Welcome. Everydayers, you already know you're the heartbeat of our show. It's easy and free to help us out. Subscribe and like our content on YouTube. Drop a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line. 2793-LOCKED. That's 279-356-2533. Halfway report. Stock up, stock down. Let's finish today's show with a little halfway report. Who's raised their stock? Who's met expectations? Who's disappointed? Kyle Tucker. Let's start with the easiest category. Delivered exactly what was expected. Shohei Ohtani. What else can you say? The expectation entering the year wasn't just that he'd be great. It was that he'd once again carry enormous responsibility. And he has handled the pressure that only he can handle as a two-way player in a fantastic manner. When the Dodgers needed a stopper on the mound, he's been there. When they needed offense, he struggled a little bit in the beginning, but he has now provided it. This is exactly why the Dodgers invested heavily in him. That's why they gave him a $700 million contract over a 10-year period, because they knew that they weren't only going to rely on him to be a designated hitter. Eventually, he was going to be a starting pitcher. That happened in June last year, where he started building up. And we saw that masterpiece in Game 4 of the NLCS, and he became one of the guys that was going to go out there on the mound at least twice in the World Series, and this man delivered for the boys in blue. And right now, I mean, he's still below even potentially going 40-40 this year with 40 home runs and 40 batters struck out, because he ain't going to steal 40 bases, but his responsibility is different this year. He's focusing as a pitcher, and how ridiculous is it to say that this man has an ERA below 2 and hitting the most home runs in the Dodgers lineup? It's just crazy to think of. I mean, it would be crazy to think of him being an average pitcher. He's been excellent for the Dodgers this year. And the thing is, that's what you expected out of him, because that's what Shohei does. Now let's go with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I'm keeping him in this category too, because last year he closed the postseason with an epic World Series performance. This year, he's become exactly what the Dodgers envisioned when they added him to the roster in 2024, where unfortunately an injury left him out for a big chunk of the regular season, but then he came back in the postseason and he was a key piece for the Dodgers winning that 2024 World Series. Last year, 2025, he lasted the entire year. From beginning to end. From opening day over in Japan all the way to being the last pitcher on the mound for the Dodgers in back-to-back days in extra innings, getting the win in 3 World Series games, which is ridiculous to say out loud. And now you look at him, at his numbers, everything that he does, he's been somebody that can take the ball against anybody, and you feel that your chances of winning because Yoshi is on the mound are high. He's the anchor of this rotation. No doubt about it. That's it. That's all I got to say about Yoshinobu Yamamoto, because I could keep rambling about him and how great he is, but you know he delivers as you expected him to. Now, let's keep on going with the good. Overachievers. And we'll keep it with the pitching. Justin Wrobleski. Did anyone honestly expect this level of production out of him? You hoped he'd be good? He's been great. He's been fearless. He attacks hitters. He's thrown quality starts against good teams. I went to the stats last year, and in the entire season, the only pitcher in the Dodgers that had more quality starts than Justin Wrobleski through 81 games through the first half of the baseball season in 2026 was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. You look at his numbers this year, and they've been great. He's given the Dodgers stability during a season filled with pitching injuries. You've missed 2 aces that are injured right now. You put Justin Wrobleski hoping that he'd be a 6th starter for this team, and man, he's one of the 3 best pitchers that the Dodgers have this year, and I wasn't expecting saying this in March, in April, in May. Maybe that he was going to suffer a dip. Nope, never happened. Now let's go with Andy Pages. Maybe the biggest breakout player when it comes to field players, because not only has he become a consistent defensive all-star type of guy, gold glove projected guy at center field, but with the bat, he's struggling right now. He's slumping at this moment, but you look at the overall picture through 81 games, and this is a guy that has played with confidence. He's become an everyday player instead of someone fighting for at-bats and starts over at center field, which at the beginning of the season, that's what we thought, right? Andy Pages, you only put him against certain pitchers out there as a guy that has favorable matchups against. No, nowadays, he's an everyday starter for the boys in blue, so he could only do that if he was an overachiever, a guy that improved, and from the guy that struggled big time in the postseason last year to now, completely different player. And the last overachiever right now, and I'll be the first to raise my hand and said I didn't want him on this team this year, but he's been great, is Tanner Scott. He deserves all the credit in the world because his 2025, it wasn't bad. It was terrible. But now in 2026, he has settled in. He's become exactly what the Dodgers hoped they'd have when they hired him, when they signed him to that 4-year contract last year. And at the back end of the games, he's been reliable, he's been aggressive, he's missed bats, and that's been a huge development for this team, especially with Edwin Diaz being out since super early in the season. So those are my 3 overachievers for the Dodgers: Justin Wrobleski, Andy Pages, and Tanner Scott. Now, underachievers. It sucks to say, but Kyle Tucker. This isn't even close right here. The expectation after arriving in Los Angeles with that massive contract was superstar production. I mean, look at Shohei Ohtani. He gets a huge deal. He comes and he kills it. 2 years with the Dodgers, 2 World Series championships, 2 all-time seasons that you've seen from him. Kyle Tucker, he signs a massive $60 million a year contract with an opt-out after the second year with the team. And man, 81 games in, it seems like one of the worst contracts that the Dodgers in the Guggenheim era has ever given out. His inconsistency has been impossible to ignore. Timing, adjustments, never getting fully comfortable. You could just put it all together and be like, boom, that's all negatives that he has. The production hasn't matched the talent that he has shown since debuting in 2018. He's the biggest disappointment when it comes relative to expectations, and Not even close. Not even close. Now I'm going to go with disappointments because you wished that you had them available, but they're not. Blake Snell. It's not about ability, it's about availability. The Dodgers signed him expecting him to be one of the best guys at the front of this rotation. Instead, the injuries have kept him from making the impact that everyone expected, and the same goes for Tyler Glasnow. Nobody questions the talent. When healthy, he's electric. But that's a big when. Availability matters. Your best ability is your availability, and neither Blake Snell or Tyler Glasnow have been out there on the field with this team as we wished. Fortunately, we saw the formula that worked last year. Just have them available in October, and they'll come through for this team. And they've been lucky that guys like Justin Wrobleski, Eric Lauer, even Roki Sasaki now, as of late, they've stepped it up, and their absences, because they're two guys that are out, have gone pretty much unnoticed. They got the best record in baseball, 52 wins through 81 games. That's a fantastic record, and hopefully when these guys come back, when they're healthy, that means that the second half ceiling for this team changes dramatically, and it goes sky high. It goes even further than the sky, and right now, 52 wins, 81 games in, you're talking about them being on pace of winning 104 games. If you get Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow back on the mound, if you get Kyle Tucker to produce better than he has right now, I'm not even going to talk about a superstar level, just be better, man, that means that this Dodgers team can end up having a ridiculous amount of wins, but obviously the most important ones are the ones in October. Win in the postseason, get another championship, three-peat, and have the rest of baseball pissed off. All right, I'll close today's show and this week's Locked On Dodgers edition with this question. As we've reached the halfway point of the season, who do you think has been the Dodgers' biggest overachiever and biggest underachiever? Let us know in the YouTube comments or reach out on social media. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. I'll be back on Monday to recap everything that goes down this weekend as the Dodgers kick off Friday, a 3-game series in the 6-1-9 against the Padres. First of 2 series, 7 games in a 10-game span against San Diego in first San Diego and then Los Angeles. If you're with us every day, check out the Everydayer Club. You'll get Locked On Dodgers completely ad-free, access to our members-only Discord, and more perks along the way. Join the party at lockedondodgers.supercast.com. If you're watching on YouTube, stick around and check out the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network channel. And if you're listening on audio, make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day. I appreciate you riding with me. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.